Welcome everybody. We are going to talk about something quite novel here, which is there's a lot of new concepts, apps, websites about language learning, and then we have on the other side the traditional language courses, the traditional language schools where you go to the school to learn the language, and we are going to talk about an opportunity how to marry those two and how offline language courses can go online, can have complementary online language courses, and how this is a massive untapped opportunity for the future. Now, a quick introduction about the two of us. So first, my name is Gabriel Gelman. I am the director of the online marketing agency Netzbekannt. We're the only agency in Germany specialized on language businesses, and we do a lot of stuff for language businesses. And I'm the founder of the language blog Sprachschulen.de, which has 150,000 visitors per month. Also, we are a marketing partner of the Polyglot Gathering, which is the biggest gathering of language lovers in the world, and we are organizers of the Netzwerk Sprachunternehmen, which is a meetup for language companies, and the Follow Languages Day, which is a meetup for language influencers. And we're also the marketing partner of Expo-Lingua, so we helped make Expo-Lingua as full as it is. And now Lukas is my co-host.
Hello everybody. I'm Lukas van Vyve. I'm from Belgium. I was trained as a linguist, interpreter and a translator, and a couple of years ago I started creating online courses in 4 different languages that have been taken by over 1,500 students right now. They've been quite successful. We'll talk about that more about that later, and we're going to show you how you can do that as well. And lately I'm specializing a little bit more in course creation, helping others creating courses, and also marketing.
So there's going to be a lot of stuff, and it's probably difficult to process everything and understand everything that we're talking about, which is why we are recording this talk. So you see the cameras there, and you can get the video of the recording and the slides by scanning this QR code, or go to netzbekannt.de/courses. You put in your email, you'll get the slides within half an hour, and then you'll get the recording once it's ready. Now, let's first talk about the current state of the offline education market. And we've talked to many language schools, and most of them seem to have enough students. Some might not, but most are quite happy because languages is something that still a lot of people want to learn. But margins are getting lower because there's more and more competition entering the market, and that's not only from the offline world, but that's also from the online world. So there's lots of different possibilities to learn a language, online or offline. And also what we've heard quite often is that it's quite a challenge to find good language teachers, especially because of low margins. It's hard to pay language teachers what they need, so there's a big competition for good language teachers. And also when it comes to scaling up, finding classrooms that are affordable, especially in urban areas like Berlin. And then there's also the competition from online. So you see online self-study courses and online teachers. So for instance, there is now platforms like italki where you can get a teacher for as low as 10 euros or less. And there's online language schools which are blowing up, which are getting really popular. And also there's free or cheap apps that promise that it's possible to learn a language. So my question is, are you ready for the future?
Yeah!
Yeah, and we're going to explain a little bit about what we think the future will be, and that we see already right now, and what we've been successful in as well. And Gabriel already told it, there will be online courses, or online courses combined with offline courses, especially for those of you who have a language school. We're not saying that you need to go completely online, but at least blending both is definitely going to be something you will need to do in the future. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about what we did in the past already. So we both started online in 2016. We've both developed different platforms in the beginning. So Gabriel, like he said, has developed Sprachschulen. The other logo you see here is Effortless Conversations. That's the academy that I created in the past couple of years. We've created online courses for German, French, Spanish, and Italian. And usually what it would look like, and we'll go into more detail later, but what it would look like is always lesson packages for self-study that we give students so they can study whenever they want online, or even print stuff out and then study offline, combined with online follow-up. So it's not completely self-study. We do online follow-up where people can ask questions, where they can even talk to a tutor, etc. And then we also use some extra study tools, flashcard tools, for example. We try to take advantage of like new technology to make sure that students can, that we can follow up with them and that they can actually study, in an efficient way. Yeah, they've been quite successful, these courses. We've partnered with YouTube channels to launch these in the past. We've helped over 1,500 students so far, and we'll show you some examples of that. You can actually get really good results with these courses as well. And we both realized in the past months that this is actually a really big opportunity also for language schools, because usually they're not that advanced yet, like in the online market. And yeah, just to show you how big of an opportunity this is, or can be, this is an example of what a platform could look like, for example, one that we created. Yeah, we'll show this later as well. So we wanted to show you an opportunity, like how big of an opportunity this is. What we're going to show you, again, it's not typical, but it's definitely possible if you have a big audience online and if you do a good job marketing your courses. You can go to the next slide. So this is from a course that we launched last year, a German course. You see it's like October 1st until December 31st. Actually, these are revenue numbers from only 5 days. So in 5 days, we did over 6 figures. 442 new students, and the good thing is here that this is almost pure profit because you don't have to pay that many teachers, you don't have that much overhead. We'll talk about that later. So it is a big opportunity to do online courses, and there's a big market for it as well. You have the potential to serve a lot of students. Yeah. We've also, another example actually, and she just arrived, they wanted to talk about, we've worked with Deutsch with Maria as well, she just arrived here. You might know her, she has a big YouTube channel and she has been delivering online courses very successfully. Has helped a lot of students get through their certificate, like German certificate exams. So it is definitely possible to do good online courses online, and there's also a big market for this.
Now there are quite a few of advantages that come with online teaching, that come with online courses. And the first one is that there is almost no overhead. So of course you have to set up the course, but once it's there forever. You have little fees like hosting or IT, and that's pretty much it. It's there, the materials are there, you don't have to pay a teacher to say the 152nd time how the dative is built, or explain something else that they have explained hundreds of times in the past. There are no classroom limits. All this material can be accessed by whoever wants to at any time of the day or the night, and there can be hundreds or thousands of people that can watch those learning materials. And yes, students can study whenever, wherever they want, at what time. They don't need to be at a location. Now, I do realize that many language schools, they are offline, and they have an offline school, and they obviously don't want to go completely online, but we're going to talk about the possibilities of how an offline language school can profit from having a physical location, and also profit from being able to put the materials online. And there's also better possibilities to follow up, to track the progress. You can see what they, which lessons they took, and how did they progress through everything. And yeah, like I said, it doesn't have to replace offline classes. You can also keep the best of both worlds. Now, you might be thinking that this all sounds great, but you probably have quite a few buts, and Lucas will tell you about a few of those.
Yeah, there are usually some objections that come up, when we tell people about, you can do an online course, especially if you're used to doing offline courses and having students in your classroom. You might think, okay, I need the students in my classroom, I need the personal contact, otherwise they won't learn anything or they won't do anything. So that's like one of the most common objections we hear. In my experience, in our experience, of course, with all these students that we've worked with, you can actually have a very successful online course, and you have students who are super motivated and who do even more than they would do if they come into a classroom once or twice a week, if you have an online platform, and especially if you follow what we call, like a guided self-study method. And the basis of that method, this guided self-study method, is that for any student to be successful, and this applies to offline courses, of course, as well, is that they need, first of all, they need to learn skills, then they need to have some mentorship, and there needs to be accountability, right? This doesn't only apply to language learning, it's just in general a way of making sure that students actually get results. So what does that mean for language schools or language courses? First of all, skills. Well, what we mean with that is the typical things you think of when you teach a language. Like teaching grammar, vocabulary, can be listening, speaking, reading, writing, all that stuff that you normally do in a classroom, or that you would do in a classroom, or that you can also find in a textbook. The advantage of doing an online course is that this can be super scalable if you pre-record that stuff. And I know, of course, in a textbook you can also have a lot of grammar explained already, and you have exercises, and you don't need to start over, creating all your materials every time. But online you can really make an interactive course. You can have videos, you can have quizzes, you can have audio, you can even have like a tutoring session in between if you want that. So you can do all that stuff online in a really good way. It can be super scalable. You don't have to explain the same things over and over again, and you don't have to say, just go read a book to know what the grammar rule is or something like that. You can all have it in fun videos that you create yourself, and it can be really super interactive that way. It's also easier to make your students study every day, again, like we said before, instead of just coming into class a couple of times a week, because you can drip out your course. You can have a curriculum that says every day, okay, today you do this, and then the next day a new lesson is available, and you can really make it available in a way that that makes the students actually drip fed, like I said before. So they get a new class every day or a new lesson every day, and that way you can really ensure that they do something every day. You can follow up with that as well. You can usually see it in the platforms nowadays, if they actually did that lesson of that day. If they didn't, you can follow up with them, you can ask them questions, etc. So that's the skills part. That is really, I think, honestly, the best way to do that is just not teach it at all and just give it to the students in a good interactive format, and then they can do it whenever they want. They can study every day. So that's the first part. Then, and this is again the example we showed you before. This is an example of an online platform where you see 64% complete, so you can see how much they've done. There are some videos here. You see lessons here. So it can look quite nice. We'll talk about this later as well. It doesn't have to be difficult to create something like this. There are amazing platforms out there that make it super easy for everyone. Then the mentorship part. This is where, because of course you can create an online course, but if it's completely self-study, some people just want the personal contact, or they want someone to guide them through the process. And then this is something you can do in a classroom or also online, answering their questions. They might have questions about materials, they might just want to talk to someone about their experiences, about what they're learning, maybe they want a little bit more explanation. You can do this with video conferencing software online, or you can also still get your students to come to your classroom, but not to learn about new grammar rules, but more about what they did by themselves. Talk about that and explain it to them a little bit and guide them through it, mentor them. So they need a mentor to take them by the hand and walk them through the materials a little bit. But that doesn't mean they need to explain everything over and over again, of course, right? This is an example of some very good screenshot. This is an example of a conferencing software that we use. Students can ask questions. You can see ask a question there. There's a chat. People can come on screen if they want to. Works really well. It's interactive. We can sometimes have 100 people on there. It's really fun to do it that way because it's very engaging as well for the students. Then finally, accountability, right? Very important, and I think this is something difficult, at least in the offline courses that I took. It was always difficult, yes, I would go to the course once or twice a week, and I'll be there, and I'll do some stuff, and maybe I'll do a little bit of homework an hour before I go there, but then doing something every single day, it's quite difficult, right? Now, with an online program like this, you can also have a community there, of course, and you can really engage with your students on a daily basis, and you can have a community online, you can have a WhatsApp group, some of you might already be doing that. can have a Facebook group, but having that accountability in there, like keeping your students accountable and keeping them motivated and on track, that's something that's way easier online. And this might sound counterintuitive, but you can never have that much personal contact, like face-to-face contact with your students, unless you're doing a very intensive course. But online it's not that difficult. You just post something online, you post a video, you ask your students to post like a video that they like about something they saw or their favorite songs, and you keep them accountable in that way. And yeah, so you can also do it in the classroom, of course, but it's good if you have like an online component to this as well. Something else we did, for example, was the progress tracker that we asked our students every Monday to upload, and they just fill this out every day, and then they post it, and they see it from other people, because everyone posts it, and then like it's a little bit like social pressure, but it's also good for themselves just to, you know, like keep on track. Yeah, I wanted to show you some results from our students in our language courses, if you're still not convinced that this can actually work. Yeah, there's two screenshots here from people who say when they were learning German in our course, you know, they get a lot of confidence, they have no more fear to speak German. There's one, I have an audio actually here from someone, but I'm not sure it's going to work with, well, let's see.
Ich komme aus China, genau gesagt aus Hongkong. Ich habe an der 36 in 36 Challenge teilgenommen. Also ich lerne Deutsch seit ungefähr 9 Monaten. Es ist nicht so einfach am Anfang. Ich verstehe ein bisschen, aber ich kann nicht alle sagen, was ich will. Und manchmal bin ich etwas müde vom Deutsch sprechen, aber ich spreche gerne mit Leuten und ich mag Sprachen, besonders Deutsch natürlich.
It goes on like that. I don't know if you could hear that, but she says she's been learning German for 9 months. She's done that only with our courses, so online self-study, with like the guidance we gave her there. Yeah, and it's pretty impressive. Like I was also impressed when I don't know if you could hear it, but her accent is really good. She makes almost no mistakes in German. So yeah, you can get really good results, especially not because it's better necessarily to learn online, but because she was probably way more consistent, you know, because there were so many more touch points for your students with the German language and also with you. So I think that's one of the main things that really contributes to the success of an online or a blended course.
Now, the question that we get when we talk about this new opportunity is how can I even do it myself? Because I realize that most language schools have a lot of expertise when it comes to offline, but now when it comes to online, there is this whole new world, technology, emails, videos, and it's quite a challenge. But there's a few points here. So first of all, you have all the in-house expertise. So for instance, when you have a language teacher that is teaching on their class, then there's no problem recording that teacher teaching, or you could have a separate video. The teacher could just go on camera and have pre-record the video, and you already have all the expertise in your school, which is different for people that want to start from scratch. And technology has advanced a lot, so we realized that 5 years ago maybe it was a little bit more complicated, but now there are platforms that are doing it that help extremely to set it up without knowing anything about all this technological stuff. And of course, you can get help, but let's assume you can go to the next slide. Let's assume you want to do this, you want to try this out, and you want to upload at least part of your curriculum online. There's platforms like Teachable, which make it really easy. You can set up your whole course there within maybe less than a day, or other platforms like Kajabi, which help with online courses in general. So those are two very popular platforms. There are many more. There's many different ways for hosting an online course, and you don't need to be an IT guru with a 5-year degree in order to be able to do this. So the technology nowadays makes it extremely easy, which is why now is the best time to actually do this, because it's not such a big challenge anymore. Now, another objection is, won't I have to compete with free apps? So if you run a language school offline, then you have the teachers, a student comes in, and this is very different from playing Duolingo on your phone. And the important thing is that you don't have to position yourself as an app or as a competition to those apps, because Duolingo and others, they're more about casual learning, and people come to your language school because they really want to learn a language, not because they need something to spend their time when they have nothing to do. But they come to a language school because they really want to learn a language, and they're serious and committed learners. And if you keep that appearance with online courses, then this will totally work out. And it's very possible to ask for a high price when selling an online language course. So we have experience with courses costing from 300 to 500, 600 euros. People are willing to pay for language courses a higher amount of money than if they play some app that's maybe a few euros per month or even for free.
Yeah, and also important here is, if you're still worried that like Duolingo is your competition, they actually say themselves that their competition is Netflix and Spotify and Candy Crush. Because that's what, if you don't do Duolingo, what do? You do some of these things. It's not like, oh, I'm not going to do Duolingo, so I'm going to learn like a language with a traditional language school. It's usually not like that. Yeah. One other thing that sometimes comes up, people think like, oh, it's going to be expensive to create my own course. We already showed you that hosting the course is not that expensive. Like 500 euros a year, you can actually get away with that to host an online course. It might be a little bit more expensive, but not that much. So compared to like renting a classroom, it's definitely cheaper. And also creating the course itself, it doesn't have to be that expensive. You can totally co-create this with your current students, like Gabriel already said. You can just like have a course and you just say, okay, this course will be filmed for the whole semester or something like that, right? And then of course it won't be perfect yet, but you can take that as a starting point, and you can like you create a course out of that and maybe re-record some parts. But if you just do that already, that's really good already. And most of the courses that I've created myself were not that expensive to create. It was just on my computer, I would create slides, I have a microphone, and often I would do that. And maybe if you have an iPhone camera, that's usually enough as well, like quality-wise, to make students very happy. They don't care that much about like these kind of things. As long as the content is good, they're learning something, they're having fun, you can really create an amazing course already. What's also important here is, like I said before actually, if you sell it first and build it later, well then it won't be expensive because you'll get paid before you actually create it. So you can say, especially if you already have students, you just say, okay, you pay for this course, and you know, you pay for it, and then we'll create it together, right? And it's actually often better because these students get a lot of input in the course, and they can say, okay, I don't like this that much, I want to change this, etc., etc. So you actually create a better course if you do it that way. It might be a little bit scary if you say, okay, I sell something and it's not ready, but yeah, I mean, we've done it several times. You just need to make sure that you're a little bit ahead all the time, but you usually get a way better course this way. So what would it look like, more or less, if you wanted to create an online course, if you're interested in that? This is just a very, like a roadmap, a very vague roadmap, I would say. Like, we don't have all the steps in here, but I just want to give you like more or less what it looks like, what we've done in the past, and how this could work, right? So step one would always be, of course, to gather your expertise. Outline a curriculum. Again, I don't say create a course in step one, right? You outline your curriculum. You know more or less, you have the expertise, you know how to do a 3-month course or a 6-month course, probably if you have a language school, you've done all that stuff already. So just make sure you have your curriculum ready. And once you have that, you're actually ready to go out and enroll students in your program already, right? So what you would usually do is we create a test group of students. You do a pilot program, you look for 10, 20, 30 students, more if you can, but not that, you don't have to have that many more. And you make them pay. So don't do it completely for free, because, well, then you don't get paid in advance, first of all, and also these students won't be that motivated. So you really want the same experience that the actual official students will have afterwards. So you can, of course, give them a discount, give them a lower price, and then you just like start creating that course together with them. And sometimes you can even ask more money because you will do a way more personalized course with them, right? If you tell them, we're going to create a course, I'm going to be personally helping you, and I'll be there for you all the time, and you have a lot of like one-on-one calls with me, we'll do feedback calls. Some people want to pay for that privilege, you know, they want that privilege of talking to you, they want more personalized feedback. So sometimes even with a test group, you can ask a slightly higher price because it's a one-on-one program. Step 3 then, after you have your test group of students, is to deliver your course online, well, or blended, like we said before, for the first time. And then you can record everything already, you can test, and for sure, if you do this for the first time, there will be a lot of things that you didn't think about or that didn't work, or that your students have a lot of questions about. And the good thing is, of course, you know that now, like you see it here in your test group, so you can adapt, you can create a better course, you can add stuff, you can remove stuff if you feel like some things are not important at all. So you can definitely do that. Yeah. So once you've done that, once you've done your first round, you're actually ready with your course, or at least with your course outline, and you have a lot of recordings and a lot of materials already. Maybe you'll have to redo some stuff, and you might have to create a little bit of a new structure in your course, or make it look nice, and all these things. But you can package that, and then you have a course that's ready, that you can start selling, right? And then the next step, of course, is to get more and more students. You can get them from like your offline school. You can put some of your offline students in an online course, see if you're interested in that, and see what their results are, so you can see it for yourself. You follow up with them, you mentor them, and keep them accountable, like we talked about before, skills, mentorship, accountability. And then if they get good results, well, then you're ready to scale up. And then the next step, of course, would be, you have something now online, so you're not constricted anymore to your hometown, or wherever you're at the location of your language school. You can still use the authority of your language school if you have a big one and a famous one, but now you can actually get students from all over the world for all your languages. And then, of course, you will need to learn a lot about online marketing and maybe do some partnerships with people. But once you have that product ready and you know it's a good course and people get really good results, well, then you're ready to conquer the world almost, you know? But it's really true, it's really that way. I've shown you before, like we've had hundreds of students enroll in a short time. People who have a big audience online can do that, and they can enroll people from all over the world at the same time. It's interesting to see as well, these people all learning all together. It helps them as well to see like, oh, there's people from everywhere and I'm part of this community. So it's been a lot of fun doing that. And yeah, we hope you're also interested in doing something like this, and hope we can convince you that this is a good opportunity for all of you.
So hopefully now you have a roadmap on how to start, but if you need a little bit more guidance, we prepared a seminar in March, April. We haven't set up the date yet. You won't be able to read what's in there, but there should be flyers on this table. There are not, so hopefully somebody from my team can run to our stand and get them. Okay, somebody got the message. So we are preparing a seminar in March and April, which is going to be a 2-day seminar where we're going to go much more into depth about this, and where we show exactly how it's done, how you can do it, and how you can even start right at the day of the seminar. And but if you don't want to wait this long, we're ready to help you start with this as soon as possible. So if you're interested, either catch a flyer or talk to us afterwards. And yeah, next slide. Yeah, so now's the time. There's really great possibilities with online language courses, and you have your leg up because you already have an offline language course, offline language school. So you have everything that you need. You just need to bring all of that expertise that you have offline online, and then you can tap into those opportunities. And yeah, and then the last slide, we'll leave that up for now. You can get the slides and the recording if you're interested.
Yeah, I think we have 15 minutes if anyone has questions. Yeah.
Materials from other people or materials that are on the internet, do you also use for your own online courses?
Okay.
Yeah, it's more a question about authorship.
You mean intellectual property, right? Yeah, copyright. So yeah, the question was if we use in our online courses, if we use our own materials or if we use materials from other people or like materials that you find on the internet. We need to be careful with that, of course. We create all our materials ourselves. And this is actually, it's true, like I know in language schools, it's usually you follow a book, you buy a textbook, right, and you follow it. You can't do that, of course, online, or maybe you can, I don't think you can. So what we did, we created our materials ourselves. We paid people, we told them these are the requirements for A1, A2, for example, etc., etc. And then they would create materials based on our guidelines. So that's what we used, and then on top of that, we used a lot of free materials that you can find on the internet. You know, you don't have, not all the materials are copyrighted, and also if you send people to a YouTube video, for example, or a newspaper article, you do, I mean, of course it's free, right? We can send them there, Spotify, stuff like that, even Netflix. We recommend our students like to use a lot of these kind of things, that are free. And then we combine that with materials that we've created ourselves.
And if you already have if you already have a language school, then you have everything you need to be recorded. The classes that go on, everything that is done many times is what you can record and what you can later use. So that's the opportunity, because if you start from scratch, you have to get the teachers, you have to write the curriculum, but as a language school, you already have all of that. You just need to digitalize it. Other questions? Yeah.
You talk about this 500 euro IT, and you can exactly what I paid in language year.
That was just general, like for hosting the course on one of those platforms, or maybe Vimeo, or service structure. Oh, sorry. The question was, what were the 500 euros per year for IT and infrastructure? So this is just an estimate. I mean, you can come up with, it could be 50 euros per year, it could be 1,000 euros. It's the platforms that we showed, like Teachable or Kajabi, maybe an email program that delivers the course, or the website, or the video host. So all of this. So this is just an estimate. It could be less or more, but it's not that expensive in comparison to language.
Like, get this series for free, which was there on some slides. It was just put in.
Sorry, when I go back to that. You meant this one, right? First thing?
Or you meant the
This one, and was another one.
Teachable.
Teachable.
Yeah, these platforms, yeah.
Get for free, or was free, what was
It's not for free, but it's not expensive.
one slide more.
This?
yeah.
Start for free?
Yeah, it's just an introductory offer. So you pay for it, but it's not that expensive. There's different platforms. They're like really high-end platforms, which are more expensive, and there's cheap platforms. Usually, the good ones, they cost a little bit, but that's nothing compared to actually hosting a course. Maria?
I just wanted to say, if you're afraid of costs, you use closed Facebook. There's always a lot of fun, and it's free. And almost everyone uses Facebook.
To repeat what Maria said, she recommended, if you're afraid of costs, then use Facebook groups, because they're for free and there is good usage there. Yep.
How do you deal with people if you like upload videos which are not really good enough because you're not so expertise? How do you deal with people who are want to get their money back because they say, I don't want to pay money for this content, it's not good for me?
You give the money back, but usually it's very little. Like for instance, usually we see with our courses maybe 5% refund rate. So there will be refunds. Like people might not like the course or they expected something different. But what you can do with it, you can ask them why didn't they like it, what was bad. So usually the refund rate is much lower than you would expect it to be. So I remember my first course, I was like, okay, probably 75% will refund it, but that's usually not the case. It's a very low number, and you can work with it by asking for feedback, by improving. And if your material is not high quality yet, then you can say, okay, I'm starting, this is a new course, I'm testing this out, get it for half the price because it's not the high quality that I expect the final course to be yet.
Yeah, so I also wanted to say about this that if you have a lot of, you'll have more students there and they're not coming to your classroom, you'll have more scale. So if you have 100 people watching your videos, if 2 people ask their money back, you're not really losing that much. You might lose the 10 minutes that you need to spend giving them their money back, but you're not losing like 5 hours that you spent one-on-one with them. Or, I mean, if you've spent 5 hours one-on-one with them, you wouldn't give them their money back anymore, right? But if you have we usually always have a refund policy because it just gives people way more security. You sell more normally if you do that just because they feel, okay, I feel safer. And you will always have people who just know in advance already, I'm just going to use this for 14 days or 30 days and I'm going to ask my money back. but you know they're there, so I don't care about them, because also I don't lose time on them. And usually you make more by giving the guarantee, and people trust you more than you would lose by giving them the money back. Yeah. More questions? They usually, like, how we do it is there is a sales page, and then like a page where they fill in their credit card details, and on that page there will be something that says either terms and conditions, or it says, okay, you have a 30-day money back guarantee or 14 days. And if they are within that period, I don't even ask questions. I just give it back because it's lost time for me, like wasted time, wasted resources. Yeah, so you do something like that.
And there's platforms for that. So for instance, Teachable does all of this for you. So they take the money, they take a fee, and then if people want a refund, then they refund it. So you don't have to worry about all of this. There's different third-party services, and Teachable is one of them. There are many, so you won't even have to deal with it. People tell they want their money back, and you just refund it, and then you're done with it.
How do you deal with potential customers who are already advanced in speaking language, who already learned like half a year?
So you do either you do different courses, or you do one level and then you offer it only to one level, and once this works well, you sell well, then you move on to the next one. But obviously you can't have one course for everybody, that for the beginners and the super advanced ones. So this is just the same as it is with offline courses. So you have one for A1, maybe two for A1, then one for A2, and you do the same with online courses.
Some differences from offline, like school, for example, it's here in Berlin, it's very multicultural, but anyways, we are in Germany, so the probability that you have German students or German-speaking students is really big. But when you are online, you are potentially getting students from all over the world. Do you have a working language? So let's say you deliver, especially for the A1 level, do you deliver the course in another language, maybe in English? So in order to achieve more people to reach?
To repeat the question, what's the language that you deliver your course in? And the answer to that is you have to think about this the same way you think about offline courses. So if you offer an English course or a German course for beginners and you do it in English, then you do the same online. If you have advanced learners that already know German, then you do it in German. So don't try to have one course for everybody in the whole world with all the languages, with all the levels, but try to do it exactly the same as you do it offline. You have a A1 German course, which is, let's say, delivered in English or French or whatever it is. Do the same thing online, and don't try to reach everybody just because now you're on the internet, everybody can find you, because the more watered up it is, the less people are going to take it. The more specific you are, the more people are going to buy the course, and this is true offline as it is online.
Yeah, and you can start with whatever you're most comfortable with. If you have all your students in Germany right now, I mean, Germany is a big country, there's so many people here, so you can just start with the course with the working language in German or whatever language they're learning, or take English, of course, is like easy. If you sell worldwide, you need English as a working language. Like in the courses we did, I think we had students in over 50 countries. We always use English for communication, especially with the lower level people, like at A1, etc. And then most of the courses, if it's a German course, it's in German, of course. Yeah, but you can start with a German course, and then if you see, okay, this is really successful, I'm getting a lot of students, it works well, the method works well, I like doing this, well, then you just translate it. Or you pay someone to translate it into English, and you create a separate version that's for people who, well, don't know German yet, or who speak English. That's like the easiest way to go forward. But you don't have to start with English. Like, usually your market is big enough, like in your home country, in the beginning at least. And if that's where your expertise is, just go with that first.
Sorry, to Praktika. How you do this when you get all this payment and then you need somehow to deal with Finanzamt, how you declare all this
So the question was, how do you deal with like processing online payments and then like talk with the Finanzamt and everything, like and bookkeeping and stuff like that. So I'm from Belgium, so my company is in Belgium, so it's going to be different from Germans, but I think Gabriel can talk about that. But in general, again, there are platforms that are dedicated to this. They just take a fee of all your payments, so they will take a couple of percentage points of all the payments you do, which is credit card fees, but also like processing fees, and they will, like if you take a good platform there, they will take care of most of that. So there will be invoices created, your bookkeeper should just be able to process them, and yeah, it shouldn't be that difficult. Maybe you have more expertise for this. No? That's how it is? Yeah, so there are platforms for this that do all this. So taking payments online is not the biggest difficulty anymore nowadays. It's pretty easy actually.
And that's also where we talked about the technologies there. You have service providers that take all of this headache away from you. So the infrastructure, the payments, they take care of all of this and they take a small cut, but you don't have to deal with all of it. So technology is making this really easy right now. So we have 2 more minutes. Any more questions? Okay, so if you're interested to find out more, get a flyer for the seminar or come talk to us, and thank you very much for coming.